What is up, guys? It's me, Chris, back to do another prediction video, a boxing video. Lo and behold, I know it seems like it's been a minute, but I was recently asked by a YouTube user, Rasclot222, what's up with the boxing vids? Honestly, what I told him was the truth. I really haven't been intrigued by that many matchups. It's been a lot of one-sided bouts going down, for the most part on paper. Nothing that really intrigued me as far as breaking it down in a competitive bout or something I was really anxious to see, even though I have been watching all the fights. Up until, well, of course I did the Coda Mamargo one, which wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it. But that changes this weekend with the WBO Junior Flyweight Championship at stake. Rematch actually, champion Giovanni Segura defending his title against the man he took the belt from, Ivan Calderon. I don't know if you got a chance to see the first fight or not. I didn't get to watch it live. I was told about it. I don't know why I didn't watch it live, but unfortunately I missed out. Sometimes as great as the fight was, even though I watched it later that night, knowing the result definitely takes something off of it, so I wish I had watched it live, but regardless, it was still a really great fight. One of the best, probably best 5 fights of last year, and considering how many great fights there were last year in boxing, at least 5 to 10, that's a pretty high placement in my opinion, but very good fight. Calderon, I would say he's winding down his career. He's 36 years old at this time. Been undefeated up until his last fight. Long reigning champion. I know he has a style that is not so appealing to a lot of fight fans. Can't say I've really been a big follower of his career. I guess I'm guilty of not following some of the lighter weight fighters, particularly ones that may have a more technical style as a Calderon. But respect to the guy, regardless. He's fought his fight and been able to be successful at it for pretty much his entire career up until his last bout. For Segura, went into that fight as a challenger, big fighter, the bigger fighter. And if you go and watch that fight, to me, it's very reminiscent on a smaller scale, both literally and figuratively, of the first fight, or the fight between Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito. You had a smaller Puerto Rican fighter, the champion, being chased down by the bigger Mexican fighter, the guy who's probably not as technically proficient, but is more of a grinder, just trying to wear you down, catch up with you, and stop you, overwhelm you. And in the case of both Margarito and Segura, they were able to do so. Obviously, circumstances are different. Even the fighters are different. Miguel Cotto, I think, has obviously is a lot more of got a lot more power than Calderon, and is more willing to, for the most part, he's usually more willing to stand in there and trade and slug it out than Calderon was, although Calderon did that a lot in the Segura fight. Now, whether or not he did that voluntarily or he was forced to do it because he is slowing down in age and at this stage of his career, regardless, he did stand and trade a lot more in that fight than he has in the past, and it's helped what make it such an exciting fight, in my opinion. Also, of course, with Margarito, there's always the suspicion of whether his hand wraps were altered with or not, but that's neither here nor there in regards to the actual way that those fights played out. Even to the fact that the comparison that when Miguel Cotto lost at the end of the Margarito bout, he got knocked down, and I'm sure he probably would have got up and continued on, but his corner threw in the towel, and Calderon, for his part, he was knocked down, he was overwhelmed and knocked down at the end of the, I believe it was the 8th or 9th round, against Segura, and 8th round, and instead of getting up, he just took the count. More or less, it looked like the fight was taken out of him. It just looked like he had been beaten down, and I'm sure he probably could have continued on, who's to say, but it looked like he kind of just had his spirit, taken from him. And it happens, it happens to the best of the fighters, not every fighter, but I mean, it happens to some of the greats. And unfortunately, it just wasn't Calderon's night, and I think he realized that. But credit to Ivan Calderon for taking this rematch. Not only did he take the immediate rematch, but he's taking the fight. The first fight was in Puerto Rico, which obviously would have been perceived to be an advantage for Calderon. The rematch is in Mexico, which is definitely, I think, going to be advantageous to Segura. Whether or not he needs the fight to be in the hometown crowd or not, it's tough to say. I mean, he won in Puerto Rico, but it's still going to be advantage to him one way or another, fighting in the home turf, whereas Calderon will be fighting in hostile territory, to say the least. I mean, come on, it's a Mexican versus Puerto Rican fight, and if that's not the best rivalry or the most heated rivalry in boxing, I don't know what is, in all honesty, aside from maybe Mayweather and Pacquiao fans, but that's a fabricated rivalry because those two have yet to fight. As for the fight itself, the rematch, you know, I don't really see a different fight so much than the first. I think Calderon's going to be fighting his fight, being on his bicycle, trying to outbox, box circles and keep the fight at distance. Where Segura, for his game plan to be effective, he's going to be coming forward, trying to. What he was very effective in the first fight was Segura was going to the body. You always hear analysts or trainers or just people in general say, if you want to slow down a speedy fighter or a fast fighter or a guy that's a mover, go to the body. Take his legs out, try to wear him down or take his legs away from him for later in the fight. And Segura definitely applied that game plan. I don't know if that was his game plan, but he went with it, and it was successful in the fight against Calderon. So if you go and watch that fight, he went to the body effectively throughout. I don't know if that is what indeed slowed Calderon down. Like I said, it might have also been a mixture of him getting to older. But I definitely think it played a part in the way that fight unfolded. And I think that, why wouldn't Segura go back to the well in this one? Do what's successful for you. And that is what's successful for him in the first fight. Go to the body early on. The thing about Calderon, though he did get in some good exchanges in that fight, he just does not have the power to keep a bigger, stronger fighter like Segura off of him. He can back him up. He can get him in exchanges. But he doesn't really have anything that really threaten Segura to make Segura, think twice about really just going in there and going full force and letting his hands go. And, it's not going to be any different here. So I think Calderon will probably have some success early on, and I think he'll have his moments here and there. But I think as the fight carries on, mid to later rounds, depending on how long it goes, I think Segura is just going to have more and more success. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Segura is able to stop this fight sooner than they did in the first fight. A lot of times in rematches, you either get a fight that is as competitive as the first bout, goes the opposite of what you expected from the first fight result, or you get a fighter who was victorious in the first fight, repeating the same result, but doing it in a more impressive fashion. Maybe he's just got Calderon's number. We won't know that Saturday night, but I will not be surprised if he's able to stop Iron Boy earlier in this fight than he was in the latter. Like I said, I believe that Calderon is pretty much at the tail end of his career, 36 years old. Throughout boxing, their history of boxing, lighter weight fighters have had a tendency to fall off earlier in age than, they're just not as durable as the heavier fighters. You don't see a lot of lightweight fighters in their late 30s, early 40s out there competing on the highest levels. There's always exceptions. I mean, look at a guy like Juan Manuel Marquez. But he's more so an exception to the rule. So I definitely think Calderon is coming to the end of his career. I wonder if a younger Calderon had been in that fight with Segura, if he would not have attempted to get up after being knocked down at the end of their first fight. I don't know one way or the other, but this fight's definitely going to let us know what he has left. So I'm going to go with Giovanni Segura to repeat his results from the first fight. I do think he'll win. I do think he'll win by stoppage. I'm not really sure what round or anything like that. My only concern for Segura is I believe that it's already been stated that this will probably be his last fight at junior flyweight division, so he's looking to move up in weight. So I don't know if he's going to have a lot of trouble making the weight or not. And if he does, obviously that can hurt him in the fight, mostly with conditioning-wise. But I believe there's plenty of time to prepare for this bout, both physically and mentally, and he knows what he's getting into, or what kind of fight he's getting into against Calderon, being as that they have already fought before. So even if he is a bit weight drained, I still think he should win this fight regardless. So going to go with Segura to win this fight by TKO and retain his title. But I'm looking forward to the fight, Don't know if it'll be as good as the first fight. Rematches rarely are, but I'm optimistic and hoping for the best. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. Talked about this fight a little bit yesterday, broke down on Science Violence Radio Show. We'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. What did you think about the first fight? Were you at all surprised by the results? Were you surprised that Calderon did not get up? Do you think Calderon's at the end of his career? Do you expect a better fight than the first fight? A similar fight? And who do you favor and why? That's it for now. I'll put a link to the Science Bites Radio Show in the information part of the video as usual, as well as a link to my Twitter. And until next time, guys, I'm out.